Short 2/5s. They are 2/5 chord progressions that fit into one measure, resulting in both chords having 2 beats. This kind of 2/5 is very prevalent in jazz standards, since for composers, this is a quick way to modulate into another key. It can also be a way to stay in one chord but make it a little more interesting by adding short 2/5s. But when these chords are happening quickly, it can be a little overwhelming to improvise in them. In fast tunes, you get less than a second to consider things like chord tones, making a melody, voice leading, and all the other options like pentatonics, enclosures, and substitutions. So how in the world do we effectively conquer short 2/5s in our improvised solos? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 tips to nail these short 2/5s. All of the examples we'll go over today comes from our resource here at Jazz Lesson Videos entitled 100 Short 2/5 Phrases, where I've written down for you 100 practical and melodic short 2/5 lines, starting from all 12 pitches of the chromatic scale. 50 are in major keys, and the other 50 are in minor keys, and they're organized by diatonic phrases to lines with alterations, then non-diatonic starting points, and finally transcribed vocabulary from various jazz masters like Bird and Cannonball, Sonny Stitt, and more. All of these lines are written in 12 keys for you, and it turns out I don't know how to count to 100 because there's actually an extra 24 lines, 62 major 2/5s and 62 minor 2/5s. Anyway, there are backing tracks and recordings of all 124 lines included. So if you're interested in the resource, you can find the link to download in the description below and use code JAZZ5 for $5 off. So let's go ahead and dive into the first tip, which is to play, study, and memorize a ton of great short 2/5 lines. A short 2/5 phrase that's truly internalized should feel like one unit of information, like one word, rather than a bunch of separate notes. Let's walk through this process with a handful of short 2/5 phrases now. The first one we'll look at comes from the vocabulary section of the 100 2/5-1 phrases resource. And this one is directly from a solo by Cannonball Adderley over the tune Minority. First, let's play it ourselves, then let's break down what's going on. So what do we have here? The first 5 notes is a pretty common enclosure in bebop. We're essentially playing 2 voices at once that targets a note from above and below. In this case, the target is this third of G7, B, and we approach it from above, starting on this root of the D minor 7 chord, D, and gradually walk down till it arrives to the target, B. But we also approach it from below, starting from the 5th of D minor 7, A, and we gradually walk up till it arrives to the target, B. From here, we finally deviate by arpeggiating up a fully diminished upper structure. Normally, this flat 9 wants to resolve downwards to the 5th of our 1 chord, but Cannonball cleverly delays this resolution by adding 2 chromatic approach notes from below. Then we land on the 5th. Let's hear all this one more time. Thank you, Cannonball. Let's observe another line from the book that comes directly from John Coltrane. I'll play it first, and then we'll break it down. So what do we have here? Coltrane chromatically approaches the 5th of this F minor 7 chord and walks down a backwards 1, 2, 3, 5 cell in this F minor. When we arrive to the end of the cell, we are now on the 5th of our B flat 7 chord, and we simply walk up the B flat dominant scale till we arrive on the root. And then when we resolve to the 1 chord, E flat major 7, we drop down to a chromatic approach tone that targets the 3rd of this chord. Then we play the root. Then we return to the 3rd that now acts as an approach tone to the 4th. And from here, we immediately walk down to the scale till we arrive to the 9th. This is a pretty unique way to end the phrase. Let's hear it all one more time. Thank you, John Coltrane, for showing us how it's done. Great, let's go ahead and study a couple of minor short 2/5s, as you'll be encountering a lot of these in jazz standards as well. This one is found in the C minor section of the book. First, let's play it, and then we'll break it down. So what's going on here? In this D half diminished 7 chord, we're going to start on the flat 6 of the D Locrian mode here and play a B flat 1, 2, 3, 5 cell, which gives us this chords flat 6, flat 7, root, and flat 3rd. Then on the 5 chord, we start on the flat 9 and chromatically fall down to the flat 7 and play a 2-note enclosure that targets the flat 3 of the 1 minor chord. Let's hear all this one more time. Cool. Let's take a look at one more short minor 2-5 from the book, found in the minor vocabulary section. This is another one that comes directly from John Coltrane. As always, let's play it first and then we'll break it down. What's going on here? We start on the flat 5th of the D half diminished 7 chord, walk down the D Locrian scale, and then back up till we land on the 11 of G7 flat 9. From here, we just play thirds in G Phrygian dominant, first going up and then going down. You can call these zigzag thirds or up-down thirds or forwards-backwards thirds, doesn't matter. Anyway, the last 2 notes end up being a nice enclosure around the root of our 1 chord, and we end it off with a melodic figure of 5, 4, flat 3, 5. Let's hear all this one more time. Alrighty, let's go ahead and move on to the second tip, which is to change up the rhythm. Whenever something is in a bunch of eighth notes, consider it like a blank canvas ready for you to embellish the rhythm. If you just play a constant stream of eighth notes all the time within your solos, you run the risk of sounding like a boring robot. So let's demonstrate some various ways that we can alter the rhythm. Here's another short minor 2-5 phrase from the resource, comprised entirely of eighth notes. Now let's go ahead and improvise various rhythms with that same phrase. Cool, let's try another one from the resource. Now let's go ahead and improvise different rhythms with this one. Nice. So the third tip is you can just ignore the 2 chord and see the entire measure as a big 5 chord. This perspective will enable easy substitutions. For example, in the 4th bar of a blues, we've got a short 2-5 to E flat 7. We can take this short 2-5 and just see it as a measure long B flat 7. And we know that one of the most popular substitutions in jazz is the tritone substitution. So let's change this B flat 7 up a tritone to an E dominant 7. E7 is the 5-7 of the key of A major. So one potential strategy is to look in the table of contents of the 102.5 phrases resource, skip to A major, and voila. You've got 50 tritone substitution lines that you can experiment with over this measure for some inspiration. Let's take this one. Now let's see if we can make it work using that exact same phrase in the middle of my improvisation. Cool, that was fun. How about a different substitution? Let's try a backdoor dominant 7. To turn this into a backdoor substitution, we'll just take this B flat 7 and shift it up a minor 3rd to C sharp 7. C sharp 7 is the 5-7 of F sharp major, so let's skip to the F sharp major chapter in the resource and explore all kinds of potential backdoor dominant 7 options. Here's a nice phrase from the resource that I got from Charlie Parker. Now let's see how this line would sound within our improvisation. The possibilities are endless. Cool. So the fourth tip to nailing these short 2/5s is to take a phrase that you're working on, get it really comfortable in 12 keys, and then in a practice setting, force them into your improvisation. And how we will do this is to take a jazz standard that you're already pretty comfortable with that has a lot of short 2/5s and deliberately play that line in all those keys every time. In between, you'll improvise your own lines. Let's take this line from the resource. Now let's try that method with this line through the tune of Record Me. So it's a great starting point. Loop a backing track and just do this for 15 minutes straight every day. And then after about a week, go ahead and forget about it. I bet you by then, that line will be cemented as part of your vocabulary. Great, so the final tip of this video is to don't forget to check in with yourself and see how your progress is coming along by forgetting about everything and just playing. Everything we've talked about so far involves a lot of study and thinking and putting on your lab coat. But when we're improvising in a real life setting, we don't want to be thinking about any of this stuff. We just want to listen to the band around us and trust that the labor that we put in the practice room will have us instinctually improvising beautifully logical lines. So to end this video off, here's an improvised chorus over Record Me. Well, everyone, that concludes today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. And again, if you're interested in the 100 short 2/5s phrases resource, don't forget that you can use the code JAZZ5 for $5 off. I hope this video helped. And as always, please consider leaving a like and subscribe below as it really helps this channel grow. Till next time, everyone.